She's like, just give up. And those were the most important words to hear, because everybody can give up. And I know I can give up anytime, any moment, anywhere. And did I really want to do that?
Lucie, the name means light. The majority of our team has worked in newsrooms throughout the country. We've seen the negatives. At Lucie, we explore the positives. And through this video series, we spotlight them. People, places, businesses, nonprofits, you name it. Storytelling is at the heart of our company, and we know sharing a story makes connections. It's simple, informative, and empowering. So without further ado, let's go. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Lucie Spotlight series. As promised in our last episode, we said we had a very special guest, and we do, someone who knows a thing or two about scaling a business, Miss Debbi Fields, who started Miss Fields Cookies way back in the 70s. And You've grown this thing into a behemoth. Congratulations, by the way.
I was just thinking, that's over 40 years ago.
Well, let's go way back to when you were a teenager. You were a ball girl.
Mm-hmm.
It was with the Oakland A's.
Yes.
And if there was a foul ball or something, you'd run and retrieve the ball and bring it back.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about that story. And I was talking with Wade earlier, and he gave me a little bit more background on that. And you used that money from being a ball girl to go purchase some butter, and butter, like anything, changes your life, changes your world.
Butter is best.
Butter is best.
It was truly one of those breakthrough moments. So I started working when I was 13, and I was with the Oakland A's. Charlie Finley, very innovative, creative, fun, wanted to, of course, bring fans to the stands. And he thought it would be great to, instead of having the traditional ball boys, to have ball girls. And so I was interviewed. I was lucky enough to get the job. Can I say that I throw well? No, but I was determined to pursue every foul ball that was coming my way, and they came fast. And basically, the neatest thing was I was in Major League Baseball, the first female foul line ball girl, with my other partner on the first base side. And so it was just one of those opportunities where you know you're different, and you know you're standing out because you're in front of everybody. But I think that just gave me encouragement to always kind of appreciate that I am different, and I see the world differently. And one of the benefits of being a ball girl is that I loved making cookies. It was just one of those things that was just part of my DNA, and it gave me the money that I needed to kind of really explore what I love to do, and that was, eating cookies. And I was making the cookies with the ingredients that we had at home, that we could afford. My father is a welder. My mom was raising 5 daughters, trying to make every dollar stretch. And so in our home, it was margarine and everything imitation. And I used my first money to go shopping, and I went and bought real butter, real chocolate, real vanilla, and I went home, made a batch of cookies, and I have to tell you, I was so blown away. And I took a bite of the cookie, and I'm like, butter is better. And that was a game changer. And I made a decision when I was 13 that I could taste quality, that I would never, ever make another cookie again unless I used the best ingredients, no matter what. And it's something that simple that really taught me about the importance of quality. Because quality is one of those things, like how do you explain quality? Well, for me, building the cookie, I wanted to have the best ingredients, but in order to compete, I wanted to make sure that I stood out. I had to be different. I didn't want to be like everybody else. So when I was developing my recipe, I took it to the extreme. And I would literally put in so much butter that the cookies looked like pancakes, or I'd pack it with chocolate and the chips wouldn't fit in. And so my theory was, I will build the best if anybody wants to compete with me, they have to do it at the same level, because you couldn't add any more chocolate. You just had to take it to the extreme. And then to make it even crazier, I would put, when I started my company, I also had what's best for the customer. When I was really struggling and trying to continue to find financing, my mom was such a support system to me. She really made a big difference by saying, you know, Debbie, this isn't working. You know, this, just forget it. And she's like, just give up. And those were the most important words to hear, because everybody can give up. And I know I can give up anytime, any moment, anywhere. And did I really want to do that?
So how do you take it from that one store in Palo Alto and then grow it to what you did?
For me, I really believe that you don't teach the how-tos. That comes secondary. You teach philosophy. Like, the most important thing to me was to convey to my team and to my customers, what is our purpose here? Why are we better? Why should you give me a chance? And taking that, the component was highest quality, no compromise, and to never look at a cash register. There's one register you have to look at, and that was, I want you to look at every individual that comes in front of you and make sure they're smiling. Because if they're smiling, that cash register will fill with lots of dough. But my approach was completely different. And I actually realized that for like every cookie, like every time we went out and sampled to get customers, that if we sampled like 10 cookies, I knew that 3 people would actually make a purchase. And so I could translate what my sales would be on an annualized basis. So it was just like this whole thing of love. So the other part was, because I approach things differently, you have to love what you do. When people say, you know, how do you discover your path or your purpose? Well, let's just start with, what do you love to do? Because if you love to do it, you will be outstanding. And what I feel like we get caught up in trying to conform or do something that really doesn't tie into our personality and our desires. So for me, I wanted people who wanted to work with me, but most importantly, they had to love eating cookies. I mean, so I would literally audition anybody that wanted to come to work for me. And I'm like, they're like, hey, I need a job. I'm like, okay, great. Let's sit down and let's talk about that. And the first thing I'd say is, tell me how much, please take a sample of the cookies, eat as much as you want. Tell me what you think. And the people are like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, I don't have to write a sales manual because they already love it. They will sell it. And I don't want to be busy writing a sales manual. It has to come from the heart. Now, there were other people that are like, I'm sorry, but I don't eat sugar. I'm like, I am so depressed. The second part of the interview was, I knew that I had to get people to go out and find customers. So that try and buy was a critical aspect. And so I set that standard early on and said, okay, here's a plate of cookies. I know you love it. Go and just give the cookies away and see if you can get anybody back to the store. And of course, they go out, they do it. I'm like, yes. Okay, there was the last thing was, and I just thought this was the best. It's like, could you just belt out right here in front of the store, could you sing me my favorite song? And they're like, what? And I'm like, I love Happy Birthday. So just go, I'm ready. And that was the most important breakthrough, because everybody knows how to sing Happy Birthday. The question is, and this is kind of an insight for all of us, we know how to do it, but are we willing to take the chance to put ourselves a little bit outside of the comfort zone to belt out Happy Birthday? Now, I didn't ask if they had a good voice. That wasn't relevant. It's just like, I know you know how to do it, but will you do it? And the people that were like, sure, those are the people that will help you build a company, because we're all completely outside of our comfort zone. We don't know what we're doing, but if it's about laughter and joy and happiness and finding ways to be creative and innovative, I feel like that was my recipe.
Everybody was selling. Everybody.
We knew how to, everybody had to know how to do everything.
What's next for Miss Fields?
Well, I sold the business, and you have to say, what's next for Debbi? Who knows? Because, you know, we're in this time of our life where I felt like the first 20 years I was just kind of figuring out how to live. The next 20 years was trying to survive and create an environment where, you know, I literally was surviving. I was doing what I love, but I was trying to take care of, I have 5 daughters. I had a business to run. I had a lot of responsibility, and also still enjoying life. That is critical. So then you make the next leap into, okay, what we did is not as relevant as what we can do, given all the knowledge, the experience that I have learned. And, you know, my advice to my kids is say yes to life and get people. The best way to get people to say yes is do not ask a question that can be answered by a no. I cut to the chase. I will literally, when I meet somebody, always make it personal, okay? So it's connect with their first name. That's number 1. And number 2, just ask the question, can you say yes? So it's just focusing on the positivity. And you know, that's what you talk about, is like, this is all about positivity.
You talked about this a little bit earlier, but I watched a TV news interview with you. It was back in 1984.
I chew it. You got a hit here.
Oh, good.
And when you did approach your family and said, I'm going to start this cookie business,
Right.
In your interview, you were told by family, friends, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And that does cut to the core when it's coming from your family. So for those watching who are trying to get out there and start a business or do something, and those closest to them are saying, terrible idea, don't do it, you say what? I
say, first of all, remember, build a product or a service that is truly market differentiable. I have been around people who pursue money, and they think that if they're in pursuit of money, that's just a bad recipe. Start with a product or service. That's all I ask of you, to say, what is your purpose? What do you bring to the party that the competition doesn't have? That's number 1. And if you can, in literally less than 1 minute, tell me why your idea should exist because it doesn't exist, okay, you've already got me.
We got something.
We got something here. Okay, the second thing is, then you got this dream, you got the product, you got the service, but you don't have the money. Okay, it's all right. Baby steps. If they're working right now or doing something where they cannot, like they can't leave their job because they don't have the money or the resources, I ask them to spend 1 hour every day working on that part of their dream, their product or service, 1 hour a day. To get the, you know, it's kind of like the little train that could, I think I can, I know I can. So it's like, don't talk about it. You got to do it.
All right, well, to our viewers and listeners, you heard it from Miss Fields. When we're all inclined to be on the phone and we want to do our side hustle, you got to put the phone down, at least put 1 hour in.
Yes.
Any closing remarks to add to that?
Just remember, I want everybody to stop right now, close their eyes and say, there is no such thing as impossible. I want you to see the word I'm possible, and just know, if you got the dream, you got the passion, and you know your product or service is extraordinary, you just go.
I love your optimism. Debbi Fields, thank you so
Love it.
much for being on the Lucie
Absolutely.
Spotlight. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And congrats to everything you've accomplished.
More to come.
Our mission is simple: create your news. When we create it, we hope to spotlight your purpose. Life's too short to be stuck in a world that becomes stale. What is your purpose? Are you living it? If you're not, the time is now. Thanks for listening and watching. Carpe Diem.